Let's start off in Europe. French President Emmanuel Macron will meet the leaders of Denmark and Greenland in Paris after US President Donald Trump threatened to seize the autonomous Danish territory. Greenland's strategic Arctic location has made it a growing focus of geopolitical tension. France has deployed its aircraft carrier to the North Atlantic to take part in the Orion 26 joint military exercise with allied forces. The carrier strike group includes escort ships and a submarine, though its exact route has not been disclosed. The North Atlantic remains a sensitive region with regular Russian submarine activity. President Trump later backed down from using military force after European pushback. NATO chief Mark Rutte warned Europe cannot defend itself without the US, while France said Europeans must take responsibility for their own security. All right, let's talk about the security of Europe in the wake of the latest tension with the United States. We're joined by global affairs analyst Dr. Jide Ojo. He joins us virtually on the program. Good to have you join us, Dr. Jide.
My pleasure, Precious. Good afternoon.
So Europe's security and defense is now on the front line since this recent tension and fractured relations with the US. And it's been trying to maintain a stable military presence in Greenland. We're hearing about air carriers and submarines. Will this serve as a deterrent or as deterrence to Trump?
Not necessarily a deterrence, but it's also a show of force to say we are not going to let one of us, we are not going to let it down. As you said in that background report, Emmanuel Macron is meeting with the Danish Prime Minister and then the leadership of Greenland.
No.
It's a show of solidarity, sort of. We do know that the entire Europe is not a match to the US. And as Donald Trump said, if not for US, perhaps the whole of Europe would be speaking German because of the role US played in the liberation and ending of the Second World War. But that is not to say that European Union are totally a toothless bulldog. What they are trying to do is to also show solidarity, show force, to say we will not give up so easily. If you want to declare war, we will at least fight to show that we are not entirely a weakling. So I will not say, using diplomatic language, that is a declaration of war, but it's a declaration of solidarity. It shows that at this trying period for Greenland and Denmark, at least somebody is trying to show up, unlike UK, where Keir Starmer has been very ambivalent in his approach, and we have not had much from Germany. We've not had much from other world powers in Europe. So France should be commended for not letting down Denmark. And I believe it's this kind of exercise that has actually de-escalated the tension and made Donald Trump last week at Davos to come down his high off and say that he will no longer use force, military force, to annex Greenland.
But Dr. Joe, apologies, I just wanted to ask, but I want to stay on the points you made about Europe trying to, it is a show of force from Europe and not necessarily deterrence. But considering that Europe has depended on the United States for its security for decades, is this not coming a little too late? And is the bloc now being confronted with the damaging effects of its powerlessness and independence on Washington?
You may say that, but at least a David once killed Goliath. US needs to watch it. US needs Europe, much as Europe needs US. No country is an island. You cannot, because you are a superpower, ride roughshod over other countries who are sovereign countries. Look at the rhetorics coming from Donald Trump. Initially, he said he was going to take over Canada, or is it buy Canada, or annexed Canada. Then we have seen what he did in Venezuela. He has similarly threatened Mexico, threatened Colombia, threatened even which other country, several other countries across the globe, and now insisting that he must have Greenland willy-nilly. Now, what Europe, yes, we know that Europe cannot do with America, but likewise, America cannot do without Europe. Let's face the reality. Where does America intend to sell its product? All this make America great again. When you industrialize, don't you need the market? If the entire Europe turns against US and become aligned to Russia and China, where can America alone fight the entire world? Even with all its military mightiness, it's sheer recklessness on the part of Donald Trump to be threatening and bullying sovereign countries, insisting that it's either his way or highway. Imagine Donald Trump saying that the only deterrence he listens to is his own mind, his conscience, his moral judgment. How can we trust one individual to listen to his own personal conviction or morality to administer other countries? What he did in Venezuela, yes, it's still an unfolding event. He may think he has succeeded, but he needs to be very careful not to alienate European countries. Because if they turn against him and pitch their tent with China and Russia, America will not find it easy to face that kind of isolation. And that means don't also forget that Europe also knows some of the secrets, not only just trade, but military secrets of America. So I'm not sure America will survive a tit for tat with Europe.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if if there is going to be a tit for tat when it comes to Europe. I mean, so most of these nations they're quite small in terms of numbers and in terms of military might when you compare them to the United States and even just equipment. But I wanted to say you mentioned something about Trump rhetoric, and one of the rhetorics he's had recently was to talk about the NATO alliance and their efforts in Afghanistan. And he did minimize the efforts of European military officers. He said they were at the back of the front lines and not necessarily they were at the back of the wall, not necessarily at the front lines, and that the United States doesn't need them. With that kind of rhetoric and with what is going on now in Greenland, should Europe prepare for an end to NATO, and what would that look like?
Unfortunately, the end of NATO is not a good omen. NATO was formed decades ago as as a kind of bulwark against countries like China, Russia, America, so that that's why they said North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They formed it so that they can pool resources to protect themselves. Yes, America has been involved in funding NATO. America has done a lot for NATO, but with or without America, which is why NATO is also having very serious discussion about increasing their own military and security budget so that they can also fast-track the manufacturing of some high-profile military arsenals, like missiles, all these drones and all of that. They want to double down, make sure that they are able to raise their. Yes, each of these countries may be small in number, but modern warfare is not fought on the basis of numbers. If it were to be a number game, we should just have allowed China and India. The two countries are more than the rest, almost the half of the world population. Because if you add 1.4 to 1.3 billion, that's giving you about 2.7 billion population. That is a very sizable number. But modern warfare is not about size. It's about technology. It's about technological advancement. It's about intellect. It's about, pulling of alliances. When you have, we should understand that this is not 45, 50 years ago when we had the last World War. Things have since changed. And America cannot survive having multiple war at multiple ends. Since the seizure of Venezuela, Russia and China has maintained a kind of studied silence, and they are waiting in the wing. And if they team up, if Russia and China teams up with NATO or with Europe, for instance, America will not find it.
Well, I wonder if that is going to happen, Dr. Uju, if Russia is ever going to team up with Europe, considering what's going on now in Ukraine. But we'll see how that plays out. Russia seems to be the biggest gainer here in all of this. Well, thank you so much for your time. As always, a pleasure to have you on. Global Affairs Analyst, Dr. Uju.
My pleasure too. Have a great day. Keep safe and stay blessed.